Well, hi there. I got another little whittling project, a little carving project here, and this one is, I guess it's kind of a Gothic ornament. You would see something like this in a, within a larger design, possibly in Gothic architecture. And this arc is kind of the defining creature. I don't know if you want to look at it that way as a cross, or that way, in an X shape. It's actually oriented this way in the grain. Okay, the grain is going up and down so that you have the same reference to the grain on each of these corners. So you're going to be mostly slicing across the grain. So that is one little aspect of this that's tricky. The other aspect is that you want to try to keep corners kind of crisp. And this is basswood, so that's not easy to do, and you can see they're not really that crisp in my carving either. It's a little messy in there, so I have to clean that up with a knife, and I'm using some sandpaper here to try to smooth this off and hopefully take out some of the knife marks and clean up my edges. And I did it on both sides, okay? And as I said, it could be a Christmas ornament, it could be just something that you hang on the wall, or it's really just a practice piece, because it involves trying to get a bevel carved, and you're doing it pretty much by eye, and then you want to sort of meet in the center coming in from both sides, and you want to have your corners neat, and you want to not take off too much on the outside here. You can see I did a little bit here. So once it comes off the jigsaw, you're going to want to clean up all these edges with your knife before you start, so that you have a good reference point. And then you're also going to want to mark a halfway line, scribe a halfway line all the way around to give you some reference. The ones in the middle I did by eye. I haven't even finished all of them. There's still a couple spots where I didn't completely meet in the center there. So that's the project, and I'm going to show you how to lay that out, and I think it's a fun little project. Okay, so I have a piece of graph paper to start to lay out my pattern, and what I'm using a colored pencil for my just my basic layout grid, and it's not going to be anything that's going to get cut, so I'll use pencil or black marking for that. So what's important is that I have 1/4 inch grids on this, 1/4 inch subdivisions. The darker, larger lines don't really matter. And I'm going to lay out 2 perpendicular lines, and I'm going to go at least 4 inches in either direction from the center. And then from the center I want to come out 3 of these markings for each one, and then another 3. So that's going to be 1.5 inches. So what's going to happen obviously is this is going to be a 3 by 3 finished thing, because I have 3/4, 3/4, that's 1.5 inches. Same thing going the other way. Okay, so now I have 3 inches laid out, and then same thing over here. Three squares, 3 squares. So whatever size paper you're going to use, it's just easier if you do use these little grids. Of course, you could lay it out with a ruler. Okay, so then the next thing I want is to take a compass, and my compass is going to be laid out so that first 1 square. So that's going to be a 1/4 inch radius. Okay, so I set it like that. And I'm going to start with this first marking right here. Okay. And these small radiuses are a little tricky, so you got to really make sure that point is really pushed in there. Okay, so that's going to be my first one. I'll do the same thing over here. Same radius point, and I'm opening it up to 3 squares. So what that's going to give me are 2 concentric circles that are basically a 1/2 inch different. Okay, and they're going to intersect like that. So now I'm more or less done with the compass. The next tool I'm going to need is some sort of a straight edge. And I like one of these engineer squares, but you can use anything you want. And then basically what we're going to do here is we're going to connect these edges, and you want a nice smooth transition there. So make sure you get it right at the intersection and right like that. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing in here. where these lines meet. What I find is really easy is I put the pencil right on the point, push the ruler there, and then just pivot it right over. That's really a little engineering trick there. Or drafting, I should say, drafting trick. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come from this radius up out one box, and from this one out one box, and make a mark. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is from right here, not from this point, but right down in here, I'm going to just hand draw an arc out like that. Okay, and then from here, same thing, I'm going to hand draw a little arc out there. Okay, so you see what I've done? Basically, we're going to eliminate this line. Okay, so then let me go over here. I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, now I can do that all the way around, but I don't really need to, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out roughly square like this. I don't have to be too perfect about it. It doesn't really matter. And what I really need is 1/4 of this sheet. Now I'm going to very carefully fold it on my lines. Okay, so this is really important that I have this so that these edges and these edges that are folded are perfectly even. Okay? So now I have that. Now let's just indicate right here, and this line is out. Okay? And okay, so if you see the shaded areas, that's what I'm going to cut out plus the outside. Okay? And then when I open it, what do you know? There's my pattern. So that's what we're going to do. We need a piece just under 3, actually 2 3/4, because what I want to do is I want to align this, I want to orient this on my block on the angle like this. I don't want to go like this because then I have 2 short ends and 2 long ends. If I do it this way, every point has the same relationship to the grain. Okay? So I can fit 2 easily on here. I have a block that measures just under 3 and about 7 inches. So what I want to do is make sure I leave plenty of room here and just kind of indicate this center line. Okay? I'm going to take gotta flip it over. Line these up so that my center lines here that I drew are on that line. Okay? Now all I have to do is carefully trace this out. Okay. Now when I actually work on this, I'll be working, relative to these lines here. So, but see, it's really important to get this lined up perfectly here. And I'm going to cut all this out. And I'm going to leave the line. And I'm going to do the same thing on the outside, and I'm going to leave the line, because what I want to do is I want to carve this so that it's nice and clean on the outside. Now it's going to be a little tricky because of the grain orientation here. So you're going to be going, cutting across the grain. But if you have a sharp knife, sometimes you're actually better off than trying to go with the grain. Okay, it's just that you're going to have to change your cutting direction every so often. Okay, so just make sure that that is nice and clear where we're cutting. Okay, so we'll cut this blank out, and then we'll start work on it. Now, one of the things I'm going to do also is I'm going to have, this is going to have a ridge line. It's not going to be rounded. Okay, so what I want to do here is I actually want to, and I can just do this by eye, I'm going to divide this, okay, and I'm using my colored pencil again. I'm using my red pen here. And I can actually more accurately, with this. Okay, now these are guidelines. These are not going to be cut. These are going to be cut with the. I find the halfway point here. Halfway point here. I'm just doing this by eye. Now what that's going to be is a ridge line that I'm going to carve to, and you'll see that later. So I want to stay halfway between these two lines. It's okay to just do it by eye, because honestly, you're going to have to carve it freehand. So you might as well be able to visualize it and draw it freehand. You have this ridge line coming around, so it's actually going to have an angle miter there. Alright, so this should be interesting. Okay, so it's kind of complicated, but that should be a fun project. Alright, so I'll cut these out and we'll start working.